I was never been really able to enjoy my life. Up until recently, I believed that it is normal to live with this feeling of stress, this constant feeling of fear. And if you let go of that fear and stress, then you might lose the things that you worked so hard for. So there was a very much attachment to everything, constant anxiety. And in the past couple of years, after I experienced burnout and chronic pain and having this time just away from everything to myself, I've realized how much this fear and anxiety have had claimed my life in the past 2 decades. And as usual, I went on the memory lane and understood that most of the things that I believed about life, living from this place of scarcity instead of trust and faith, it was conditioned into me as a young child. As you have already known from my previous video, I am a millennial. I was born in 1988 and growing up in the 90s. In China especially, school was like a prison, like starting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it's worse when you start high school. And even the first grade elementary school students have to do homework until like 9-10 p.m. When you get home like 7 p.m. you only get like an hour to eat dinner and relax a little bit, and then after that straight to homework. Even summer vacations, it's not a vacation, you get homework. Like you have to be studying constantly. And then this fear was introduced to me when I was pretty young. Even though school was easy for me, studying things were easy for me, but I never really enjoyed school because of all this pressure and competition, a constant comparison. I hated school, But I was top at my class throughout elementary school, middle school, high school. The only reason I took my studies seriously was because my parents constantly told me that without a good education, I won't stand a chance in the society, that I will end up have a hard work, bad economy, suffer a lot. So I was traumatized. I was like scared. So I believe that the only thing to survive in this world is if you lead life with fear. Use your fear as a motivation. That's how I've lived my life. I allowed my fear to make every decision for me. Now my arms is getting tired, so I'm just gonna put the camera down here so I can sit on the floor, get cozy with you guys. Give me a minute. So, because of this fear, I have searched for something bigger than myself. Because as I get older, I started to understand that there are so many things in life that you cannot control. So I came to this realization when I was 19. And once I moved to Norway for my higher education, and knowing that there is a religious freedom here, so I got myself into religious practice. to just find a little bit of comfort, so that I will be able to let go of some of this fear, some of these anxieties, because it was getting really stressful. And from this place of fear, again, I made a decision to get married at the age of 21. Strangely, when I started to practice religion, there was a new type of fear of God. God wanted this from me, God wanted that from me, so if I don't do that, I will go to hell and all that. So I decided to do what God would want me to do in order to avoid the bigger pain and suffering. And interestingly enough, I suffered even more. That 3.5 years of marriage was the worst experience in my entire life. But the best thing that came out of it was my daughter. And I'm really happy that I got the chance to raise her all by myself after the divorce. And from that moment on, when I was 24, when I decided to get divorced, and my ex-husband, he was so furious, he didn't want that. But in his own way of punishing me for taking that decision, he just disappeared. He told me that, see how you can raise the child all by yourself. Like that was his revenge. And then a year later, he got himself into some kind of accident and he passed away. Anyway, ironic, isn't it? But from that moment on, up until now, I am going to be 38 soon. In the past few months, or especially in the past 1 year, I looked back into my life and reviewed all the decisions that I made, the ones that I made with fear and the ones that I made in spite of fear. Every decision that I made with fear created even more fear and even more pain and suffering in my life. I struggled so much. I was afraid. Every time when I made a decision out of the place of fear, it was all about losing something, fear of losing something, fear of losing someone, fear of losing this job, fear of losing an opportunity. What if this is my last chance, And then I just rushed into a decision and I always ended up regretting. And then the ones that I made, this in spite of fear, such as the divorce. I was so afraid. At 24, I have no family here, no support system. With a toddler in my hand, I wasn't working at that time. And with no way of supporting myself and my daughter, I just jumped into that conclusion because I couldn't take it anymore. And I made that decision in spite of fear. That was the first decision I made as an adult. That was, I can look back now, with courage. And I'm so proud that I was able to make that decision. Even though, yes, I made a wrong decision in the beginning, but I was able to make an amend to myself by making another decision, even though I was terrified. I was so scared. But then after that decision was made in the past 14 years, almost 15 years now, I lived with constant fear and anxiety about losing the things that I have worked so hard for. And of course, in the beginning, there was financial struggle. It took a while before I figured things out, how to get help as a single parent. But then there's another fear about, I was so scared of getting sick because then I wouldn't have anybody to look after my child. I was so scared that something would happen to my daughter. Over time, my anxiety escalated, and I would imagine things like my child being kidnapped on the way home. Crazy things, as if like my body was addicted to create worst case scenario all the time. And for a period of time, I believed that if I can achieve certain things in life, then I will be able to overcome this fear. If I can create a sense of security, in the form of good job or a stable place to live. And I did. I took a higher education, I started working, started earning good money, but the fear didn't disappear. The more I had, the more I was anxious, because my attachment to the things I had was so strong that I defined myself with the titles that I have created, with the diplomas that I got, with the job that I got, with the money that I earned, and everything else, And then at some point I became shopaholic. There's this part of me like so starving that I have to have more. If I have more, then I will have more security. But again, the same thing. I couldn't enjoy anything. I couldn't enjoy the day I graduated. I couldn't enjoy the day I, did the stuff with my daughter. Like, up until now, from the moment she was younger and up until now, every weekend I always, prioritize spending quality time with my daughter. We find things to do. We go out together, we go for a walk, we go to cinema, we go for shopping, we do stuff together all the time. It has been our tradition in this small family of ours. Because I never wanted her to feel like she didn't get enough attention and love because of the fact that she didn't have a father. And so I did all of these things with her. And I could see, like, even now, like, she talks about the things we did when she was 5, like, it was a good memory for her. And I'm really happy about that she enjoyed, like, she had a good time. But to be honest, I didn't enjoy anything. I was in constant stress. Even when I took her to a park, for example, like with this like climbing things, I was constantly worried. I just couldn't relax. Even when we were in the cinema, there was just always something back in my head. I just couldn't stop thinking. So I wasn't fully present. But I'm actually grateful that my daughter didn't notice that. as she talks about her memories in a very positive way. So I figured that she didn't notice the fact that I wasn't enjoying. But when I really start to pay more attention to myself, as she's going to be 16 soon, and I've got to live my life, and it pained me to realize that I never really enjoyed my life, because all of this fear of losing stuff, fear of losing things, fear of losing, and trying to create a sense of security, but never been able to do that. Even when I achieved stuff, it never really created the sense of security in me, and I didn't understand why up until like recently. For many years I've been reading a lot of self-help books, and one of the themes that often come up, of course, the notion of letting go, how to let go, and why to let go, and attachment and all that. I mean, in theory I know what it is and how it works. I also taught that to other people. But when it came to me, I often used the excuse of being a single parent and justified my anxiety in saying that, because I'm alone here, I don't have anybody to rely on, it's very natural for me to feel in this way. But then now, like, my daughter can take care of herself in so many ways. I don't have the same type of struggle that I used to had. Even though now I'm unemployed, recovering from this health issue. But if I really sit with myself in honesty, all I can see now is that I was just addicted to my struggles. And the only time that I was able to really enjoy this current moment, for example, just drinking a cup of tea or just staring out in the sky, just doing nothing, or just looking at my cat as she's sleeping, or just enjoying making a dinner without thinking about anything. It only started to happen in the past few months. It's because throughout my meditation sessions, I've been meditating for over 10 years now. And every now and then I had this glimpse of the present moment, but I very easily, lost it because of all the demands that was happening in my life. But now I sit down with myself and I have finally truly understood why it was important to be present and why it was important to let go of the attachment that we have to the things that we have in our lives, including our children. Because first of all, we are not immortals. I've been thinking a lot about death, and I really want to make another video dedicated to that topic. But now I just want to mention it very quickly. That contemplating on death and the impermanence of this life really helped me to be able to let go of the fear when it comes up. Like, what if I lose this? What if that happened? What if that happened? What I have been doing was that I allowed my fear to come true. And strangely, it didn't happen in reality. And then I look back in my life as well, all of these years, whenever I was so scared of something really bad was happening in my head, none of it happened in reality. And I was just somehow convinced that it didn't happen because I worried about it. But then we know deep down that it's not true. It is not true. So now I'm willing to learn from that mistake, and I'm willing to integrate this wisdom and to really see that the only way we can actually enjoy life is not by getting more stuff, is not by getting more degrees, or is not by, having more things. It is by letting go. Just whenever you are afraid that, for example, what if this person is going to leave me, then let them leave you. What if I'm going to lose this job? Then allow yourself to lose that job. I was so scared of losing my job a couple of years ago when I started to experience burnout. I was terrified because given the fact that you're providing for a child, you're running a household by yourself, losing your job is the last thing you want. But then I did not have a choice. My body couldn't function anymore. And so I had to come face to face with that fear. And it happened. But strangely, I survived. I just let go. I just couldn't take it anymore. And then things started to happen. So this also helped me to grow more in spiritually. That there is, so many parts of our lives that we cannot control. And our higher self, whatever you want to call it, this power that runs the universe, lets things happen. Otherwise, like, how do you think things happen in this world? It's not because you tried harder. It's not because you worked harder. Random opportunities happens. Random stuff can happen. Like, if we're really honest with ourselves, we're not the one that's making it happen. It's our higher self. It is this, the consciousness that is working in the background. And so the more I understood that, the more I was able to constantly let go of my fear. And I'm not saying that I'm immune to anxiety. I do get anxieties because that's very natural for humans. But the difference now is that whenever I get anxiety, I am able to sit with it and let it go. I'm not going to turn it into a catastrophic event. I'm not going to assume that, just because I'm feeling this way, something might be wrong, something is going to happen. Now I am practicing stillness, letting go of my thoughts. Whenever there's thoughts coming, I acknowledge that it's there, and then I just focus on the things I'm doing. Just keep quiet, just stillness. And then I realize that when I do that, I'm able to actually enjoy the things that I'm doing. So the more I am into this practice, the more I realized that life lived with constant fear and anxiety, no matter how much you own, no matter how luxurious your life is, no matter how many things you have, you're actually living in hell. If you allow your fear and anxiety to control your action and your decisions and how you view your life and yourself, then it doesn't matter. You're living inside of a hell. Because that's how I felt. That there was no joy in me. There was just constant fear. Sleeping with that fear, waking up with that fear, or thinking that, it's just normal, but it's not. Over time, my body couldn't handle it. And now, like, what I'm experiencing right now, this chronic pain and exhaustion is the result of that. That just shows that we were not built to live with in constant fear and anxiety. We were not built to live with this fear of losing the things that we have. So I might want to dive deeper into this topic in the future. But for now, this is the thought that I had at the top of my head, and I just wanted to get it out. And if anybody can resonate with this, let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to my channel and also like this video. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon again. Bye bye.